insight. So my lecture dedicated for my brother who was killed in the Yom Kippur War 47 years ago. We are very close to Yom Kippur and to the memorial service of my brother. And the lecture, of course, dedicated to my son, was named after my brother, 11 years after my brother was killed. I'm going to use a presentation, so I put it up and just tell me if you see, just confirm by hand or Rabbi, you
Yes,
hear, you
yes,
see?
we can see it perfectly. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So in this picture, I'm Major General, the commander of the Israeli Southern Command. That's about 17 years ago. Our child, 18 years old, Iran, brain damage, born with severe brain damage. And you see the lower lip down, sometimes saliva outside, is smiling. He has never spoken one word, never said Abba, never said Ima, Mom, never made eye contact, shouting silence all his life. He passed away 13 years ago. He is the greatest teacher of my life. You may ask, so how come? How someone who has never spoken one word was the greatest teacher? And he taught me about people like him, children like him, those who are unable to do anything by their power, those who are fully dependent on our will. And as a matter of fact, all their existence is a huge test for our values, like love your friend and love yourself, like mutual responsibility. What does it mean? When is it tested? I want to say that these children and people are the most righteous, most purest people on earth. They never did wrong to anyone. They never killed, they never eat, they never manipulated. They are the most righteous on earth. At the same time, they are the weakest, unable to do anything by their power. Unable to replace diaper, unable to say thank you, unable to wash themselves, to eat by themselves, unable to do anything by their own. For him, for Iran, our child will build a village. For him, I left the military when I was candidate for chief of staff, and we built a village for severely disabled children like him. On the right side, on the right picture, you see Didi, my wife, Iran in the middle, and me, and a cornerstone ceremony. We are happy. On the left side, we see Iran, our son, 6 months before he passed away. That's the Independence Day ceremony in Alenegev village. He's holding a video cassette, the same video cassette from age 3. One of the phenomena which we know about children like him is repeating the same thing again and again and again and again, watching million times the same video from age 3. There is no video anymore, but he's sleeping with it, he's holding it. And when he wants another time to see the same movie, he comes to a screen and knock the table. Signing us, marking us, yes, I want to see it again. Now, he's smiling. What the smile saying? The smile saying, my dear father, are you ready to be satisfied only on one thing, to raise me despite that I won't be anything of your dream, anything. I won't be professor, I won't be Nobel Prize winner, I won't be pilot, I won't be engineer, I won't be lawyer, I won't be fighter, nothing, my dear father. I won't be graduated of kindergarten even, my dear father. Are you ready to give up all your dreams, the parents' dream, and be satisfied on one thing, to bring smile to my face? That's all, my dear father. Are you ready? I want to tell you that He was diagnosed when he was at the age of 8 months. Didi, my wife, and me were facing psychologists who told us, your son is having a combination of autism and retardation. This is the specific word she used, retardation. He won't speak a word all his life, and he will permanently stay at the age of 3 or 4 months. That's what she said. I don't know if you ever felt something like the sky dropping down, crashed on your head. Don't know, but that was the situation. Didi, my wife, you see on the right picture, started crying, and then along the first 2 years raising him, there was one question at the air: why to continue living if our son has no future? Why to continue holding our life? Sometimes she said, I will decide when to get down from this bus named life and take him down with me. When I was the commander of the Israeli Southern Command, one of my interviews to the media was in the circumstances of grandfather who killed his autistic granddaughter and committed suicide. So I want to tell you, and I'm certain that you know it, our children are sitting on the most sensitive nerve of our existence. What is this nerve? This is the hope to continue the legacy of the family, the hope for continuation, the hope that our child would be better than us. I want to tell you that I was surprised to discover what behind the stereotype and stigma of children like him in our society. So Didi, my wife, and me moved all over the only Jewish state of Israel, all over our country when he was a child. We moved to find a place for him, a decent place for him, a decent institute for him. We were advised by the social worker in our town, Rishon LeZion, and we moved from institute to institute. You open the door, you got a blow of stink at your face. And then you see distorted faces of children who are afraid from the world. And then you see shameful staff and workers. And then we saw abandon all over. And then we started hearing stories of shame, big walls of shame enveloping these children. Don't know if you ever heard about the granddaughter of Golda Meir, our prime minister. Golda, we the soldier, the fighter, defined Golda as Iron Woman. We said Golda, she told us, you go and hunt down the terrorists behind the Munich massacre that was leading the first operation against the terrorists behind the Munich massacre in Tripoli. Golda, the Iron leader, Iron Woman. Golda never said a word on Meira, a granddaughter. But Meira, after Golda passing, Meira gave interview and told the Israeli public, Golda never visited me. Golda was a shame on my presence. Golda told my mom to never mention the Prime Minister of Israel having retarded granddaughter. Yes, that's the specific word. She didn't say disabled or Down syndrome, retarded granddaughter. And Golda has never spoken one word on Meira. Yigal Allon was a legend major general in Israel. He has never spoken one word on Nurit. The daughter was born in Kibbutz Genosar. Professor Anita Shapira wrote a book about the bio of Yigal Allon, a legendary commander, the best commander in our independent war, 48, admired by my parents. So Nurit was born in Kibbutz Genosar. She's described by the book of Professor Anita Shapira as beautiful child. At the age of 5, the Allon family decided we do not keep any more Nurit in our family, neither in the kibbutz nor in the state of Israel. She was taken to Scotland. I can tell you more and more and more stories, and even today, there are many parents who do not say a word on their child, neglected child who was taken and put in institute, and it's a secret in the family not to speak about these children. So that was something that we discovered along his childhood when we raised him. He was born in a period, in this picture on the left side, that's me, 33 years old, behind me, the head of Mossad. He was not head of Mossad at that time, Ephraim Halevi, but he is here. Later, he became head of Mossad. This is our Prime Minister, Yitzhak Shamir. We came back from operation in Sudan. I participated in many operations, 8 years of my life, 6 years of my life in Sudan, bringing Jews who were in misery and suffer, in distress, at life danger. Jews from Ethiopia. Every operation, we brought about 600, between 400, sometimes 200, between 200 to 600 Jews. Every time, every operation, when we get back, we participate in this operation with civil clothes. And every operation, the Prime Minister of Israel was waiting for us, head of Mossad, chief of staff, head of intelligence. We were welcome. Until now, the state of Israel leading the integration, leading very badly the integration of Ethiopian Jews in Israel. I believe you hear from time to time the riots. By the way, here on the right side, you see one of the Ethiopian Jewish who served at that time in the Mossad and helped us to bring them in each operation. But I'm not going to speak about military. I just want to emphasize the value behind the operation. The value is never leave Jews in trouble, in misery behind. The value was mutual responsibility. As we say now, a special unit, we say one for all for one. Yes, so we flew, we endangered our life, we brought them to the state of Israel. I was the first Israeli soldier in Entebbe, flying 4,000 kilometers the night between 3rd and 4th of July 1976 to rescue 105 Israeli hostages who were kept by 7 terrorists. We killed the 7 terrorists and more 30 Ugandan guards in the first minutes. And it's all together, the whole operation together was 53 minutes on the ground, and we flew back to Israel. Yoni Netanyahu was killed, brother of our prime minister. 3 of the hostages were killed. Ersh Kosurin, my friend, got a bullet in his head. Dora Bloch, later, she was in hospital, one of the hostages. She was taken to hospital because of illness. She was killed by Idi Amin, president of Uganda. In Israel, in this picture, you see some of the hostages. In this picture, you see, a combination of unbelievable shock, the meeting between the hostages and some of the family members, crying and laughing, a combination of joy and shock. I described my son, but my son, who has never spoken one word, is like saying, my dear father, I'm hostage as well from my birth. I'm unable to do anything by my power. My dear father, are you ready also to launch a different Entebbe operation, a social Entebbe operation for hostages like me? Our son was named after my brother. In this picture, I'm on the right side, with the yellow sweater. And my brother, Eran, I'm 22, he's 20, just few months before the Yom Kippur War. We are laughing. We are laughing because, you know, we were victim of concept that the Arabs afraid after the great victory of 67, the 6 Days War. They're afraid because in 6 days, the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, the State of Israel launched one of the greatest victories in modern military ever. In six days, conquered the Egyptian, the Jordanian, and the Syrian. So the concept here in Israel was they afraid. They will never go to another round of war. They are deterred. And the deterrence is working due to the great victory. So we are laughing. A few months later, all of a sudden, October 6, Shabbat, Saturday, 2 p.m., the Golan Heights, the Suez Canal were bombarded by some 100,000 of projectiles, artillery, air attack. In the Golan Heights, at the first days of the Yom Kippur War, where only 180 Israeli tanks defended our country against about 2,000 Syrian tanks. This is the tank of my brother, the burned tank of my brother. I did the picture at the end of the war. I was paratrooper company commander. I fought in Sinai against mess of Egyptians, Egyptian tanks, Egyptian commando, Egyptian infantry. There were many moments I thought I won't see the morning later. At the end of the war, I arrived to telephone. The rumors in my house said both of us were killed, me and my brother. My mom raised the telephone. My first question was, what about Iran, my brother? My mom, she's 91, iron strong. Never saw my mom crying. She said, we lost Iran. We have no Iran anymore. I continued to the Golan Heights. There was no Shiva, by the way, Rabbi. There was no Shiva. They were all buried in temporary cemeteries. The funeral happened only 11 months later. So there was no Shiva. I found his burned tank, and I investigated some of his soldiers, and shockingly, I learned to know that he was left behind. Here on the right side, you see a small figure. This is Syrian tank from 20 meters. You know, some 100 of Syrian tanks just flew the Golan Heights, arrived to the Lake of Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee. He was shot by a Syrian tank from 50-meter range. This is the hole of the projectile of the Syrian tank. He was standing here because he was the commander. He was an officer. He was the commander. He was thrown outside, bleeding here on the soil of the Golan Heights. Here behind me, you see my picture here. Behind me, this is his picture. But this is his ID. And this is a song that was written for him. This is his ID that was stained, until now, stained with his blood and the black soil of the Golan Heights. So he could be survived if someone came and put a bandage on his left leg. He'd lose his life by losing blood when he was unconscious from the heat of this blow, the Syrian tank blow. He was not left one day, not 3 days, not 4 days, not 5 days, 7 days he was left behind, bleeding, suffering here. And near his burnt tank, I did my oath for my bleeding brother. to stay in military, to stay in combat, and never leave a wounded soldier behind. And that's the way he was evacuated 7 days. After 7 days near his burnt tank. 11 years after the Yom Kippur War, Didi, my wife and me, raising a child who is named after my brother. And he is like a huge echo box of my brother, of my bleeding brother. Unable to say a word, fully dependent in our power, but he is alive. My brother is not anymore with us, but our son with us. And our son, like, asking me, my dear dad, do you remember that I'm named after my uncle, after your brother, Doron? My dear father, do you remember why the Yom Kippur War happened? My dear father, do you remember that you was surprised? My dear father, do you remember your arrogance, your hubris, what you said about the Arabs? You didn't count them. You said the military orchestra will conquer the Arabs if they start a war, but they will never start a war. My dear father, it's the same hubris and the same arrogance to mistreat children and people like me. My dear father, do you remember that you are also a temporary creature? We come one day, we pass away on the other. You may find yourself fully dependent in other people's power. My dear father, like Ershko Suen, the soldier who got bullet in his head and is still in wheelchair, fully dependent in his Filipino. You remember, my dear father? My dear father, will you do a social entebbe for me? So this picture is a picture in the village which we built for him. We started planning when I was the commander of the Israeli South Command. From 2001, 2003, 3 years we did planning. 2004, we started building. This picture, January, was taken January 2006. We brought him to the village, Ale Negev village. Today, Nahalat Iran, Iran's property named after him. He was living 1 year and 1 month in the village. February 7, 2007, he passed away from a very rare disease, Castleman disease, which is like the COVID-19, a disease which destroy the lungs. Ale Negev, it's like paradise. It was yellow, it was desert. We built in the desert about 30 acres. It's more than 120 dunam. It was yellow terrain. Now the running water, picnic area like this area, 5 cents garden, all over. We give them the first education system, the first class healthcare system, social life, everything, the best treatment ever, and above all, love. In this village, we have today 160 children like him, 160 children like him, 500 workers, 800 volunteers. By the way, some of the volunteers arrived from Australia and Semania also. I have volunteers from 12 different countries, including Guatemala, Peru, Taiwan, United States, Canada, UK, Germany, Holland, and more. We have an internet website in 5 languages, and many volunteers arrive through the information of our website. So what is the model? The model is not another institute, it's integrative community center. We said we want a place which would be a pride for our society. Children like our son, deserve the right to be a integral part of our society. So we did integration. How we do the integration? They're unable to get out. Here in the center of this model, loving the disabled. What is rehabilitation? We have contract with the 4 Israeli HMOs and Ministry of Defense to do a rehabilitation of wounded soldiers and wounded citizens of the state of Israel living in the south, about 1 million people. It means at the same swimming pool, we do rehabilitation to disabled children like our loved son and people who are living in south of Israel. Education, we have ordinary kindergarten for children from age 1. And we do integration in this kindergarten. Occupation, vocational therapy treatment. We give jobs to, as I said, to 500 people, but we also use the vocational centers to educate, to qualify people. Volunteering. I believe that the most important thing to educate people is volunteering. Volunteering it's about giving up my time and take my character and my personality and dedicate my time for disabled people once a week, 1 hour, 2 hours, once a week. This is the most important variable to make a change in our society. In Judaism, we say mitzvat bikur cholim, visit the injuries, the disabled, the wounded. In Alei Negev, before the COVID-19, every day 100 people visited. Today we limit the number to up to 10 at maximum, and it depends. Every day we do a new assessment of the situation due to COVID-19. This is our hydrotherapy center. And for instance, you see this guy, his rabbi, he's adding preparatory for military service, religious preparatory. And all of a sudden he had a stroke. So he is treated in our hydrotherapy center by a woman. So in this hydrotherapy center, we have men and women, we have Muslims and Jews and Christians, no difference. Every human being is equal here in Alei Negev. On the right picture, you see the ordinary kindergarten for completely normal kids living in south of Israel. The teacher is Sima. You see that she's raising her, she's from the Ethiopian community. And in one of our conversations, I discovered to know that I was the commander of the operation, which brought Sima and her family when she was 12 years old. Now she's 48 now. And these are the children. And for instance, you see this child here, she's disabled. This one is disabled. So these two are disabled, but they are integrated in a completely ordinary kindergarten. We teach the children from age 1. What does it mean? Social responsibility, mutual responsibility, loving human being, and how to assist those who are unable to do anything by their power. Sima, the teacher here, from time to time, I get inside the kindergarten, she's crying. Why you cry, Sima? I ask her, she says, you didn't hear the news? You didn't hear how you discriminate Ethiopian Jews in Israel? Do not taking our blood, policemen killing one of our members in clash, in riots, things like that. She's crying, then she wiped her tears and asking me, please, Doron, bring more children, disabled children. I know what is love. I know what is inclusion, what is integration. On the left side, you see Aya. kibbutznikit from Kibbutz Reim. She is leading a special kindergarten for disabled children. This picture, you see Meir Virgil, religious Jew with his wife Shule. 10 years ago, they arrived to Alei Negev village. They asked to adopt a child. We told Shule and Meir, all is open for you, just make your mind. So they did, and they choose this child. She was 2 months old. The doctor said she has no chance, she won't survive. Shule hugged Rahma. She is Muslim, she is Bedouin, from the Bedouin community. She hugged and she said, this is my baby. If you ask today, now Rahma, she is named Rahmi, my compassion in Hebrew. If you ask Shule, what does it mean, Rahma, for you? She says, 5 children came from my belly. She was born from my heart. This is also in Israel. Religious Jews adopting Muslim Bedouin girl. In this picture, you see Timo. He's Christian. He's from Berlin. He born in Berlin. Grandfather and grandmother killed Jews. They participated in the Nazis party. They were members of the Nazis party, Second World War. So his grandparents killed Jews. He and some of his friends said, we come for Israel for atonement. Atonement on the murder of 6 million Jews, atonement on Hitler's decision to kill the retarded first. Don't know if you ever saw Hitler order named T for Action, T for Action. You may Google and find the T for Action that was signed by Hitler, September 1st, 1939, the first day of Second World War, when Hitler ordered the tanks division to get inside Poland. At the same day, he signed the T for Action, saying, shifting the psychiatric centers all over Germany to small concentration camps, gather the retarded and kill them by small gas chambers. So Timo and his friends giving a video testimony in their website, telling us why they came to Israel. Is working here in this picture with Dan, very disabled child from Kibbutz Caulfield in south of Israel. Visits, I told you this is our policy. The Prime Minister came twice, Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife. Doesn't matter what you think about him politically. Former Chief of Staff is now Minister of Defense Benny Gantz, also visited. Tourists from United States. This woman here on the right picture, she's 96 years old, just 1 month before the corona started. She came with 26 members of her family from Phoenix, Arizona. Brought the family because she loved the concept. When we met Roma, her name Roma, Didi, my wife, met her in a nursing home in Phoenix, Arizona. And her grandson, one of her grandson, was born with severe brain injury and passed away at the age 7. She decided to donate and come and bring all her family. In this picture, you see one of the soldiers serving near Alei Negev. She is intelligence. She was genius. Her name, Shir Becher. She sent pictures home. In every picture, it's written in Alei Negev with Liron, my future husband. Liron is CP, cerebral paralysis, very disabled, unable to say a word. Tragically, Shir, this soldier, 8 years ago, she did a journey with her boyfriend after the military service, and she drowned in rafting in Peru, one of the river in Peru, and she was brought back to Israel in coffin. What is the legacy of Shir Bachar? אל תסתכל בקנקן אלא מה שיש פה. Don't look at the inside of them. Look at our inside and judge ourselves. Remember, we are before the Yom Kippur War. Judge ourselves according the inside values of our action. Loving the disabled. That's what she's saying to us. I don't think she really consider married to Doron, but her statement is so powerful for us as Jews. Never leave the wounded, never leave the weakest behind. In Alei Negev, everything is green. So we are leading another revolution in Israel. All of these workers, they are also disabled, not disabled with severe brain injury as the residents of Alei Negev, but they are lightly damaged. They were not taken to any business. They were not taken to serve in Israel Defense Forces. But we make them gardeners, and they do Alei Negev green and flourish. If you've been to Israel, to the Baha'i Garden in Haifa, which is considered one of the beautiful places in the world, so we send them to see the Baha'i Garden in Haifa. They get back to Alei Negev, they said the gardeners in Baha'i Garden should come and study here how to do gardening. So we have 26 gardeners here in Alei Negev making the Negev flourish and green. Our rehabilitation, Jonathan, this is Jonathan Avidah. He was a doctor at Stanford University in the United States, a parachute accident, and he landed on his head, crushed some bones in his head, severe brain damage. He arrived to get rehabilitation service in Alei Negev village. This is his mom. His mom is a judge in Israel, in Beersheba, Ruth Avidah. I can tell you, you may come to Israel and get his testimony, but the rehabilitation service in Alei Negev saved his life. In the right picture, you see Maor. Maor wounded in battle in Jerusalem. He got 2 bullets in his head, in his back, and 1 bullet here in his head. This is Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Gadi Eisenkot came to visit him. The Prime Minister came to visit Maor. He was 8 months in coma. Got the rehabilitation service in Alei Negev together with severely disabled people like our son. Lo is a resident of Beersheba. Just a flu. She was bite by mosquito, and Nile mosquito, Nile fever, we call it, Nile fever. She almost passed away. She got the rehabilitation. She is mother to 3. She got the rehabilitation in Alei Negev, hydrotherapy, physiotherapy, music therapy, psychiatric advice, and more. And she is alive, back to life, back on her legs. This woman is a major in the Israel Defense Forces. Road accident, she almost passed away. She was 6 months in coma. She arrived to Alei Negev rehabilitation. She is back alive. This is Major General Moti Elmuz visiting. He's Chief of Personnel now in the Israel Defense Forces. He came to visit Keren Kedmi in her rehabilitation. During the COVID-19 crisis, we use PPE, personal protective equipment all over. We cannot keep social distancing. We need to hug, we need to replace diaper, we need to love them. So we protect ourselves. We do sanitation. We sanitize Alei Negev with soldiers from time to time. This is one of the caregivers in Alei Negev. She's Bedouin, she's Muslim. She's working with us from day one. She is responsible for 42 girls, women, all of them in wheelchair, all of them severely disabled. She's doing fantastic work. This is Avi Wortzman, is the CEO of Alei Negev, also amazing, amazing CEO, day and night working with full commitment and dedication, tirelessly. Sanitation, sanitizing Alei Negev with soldiers. Another center of Alei. Alei is a net for disabled children all over the country, 4 centers. In one of our centers at the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis, we had a huge number of illness, 27 people with COVID-19, 20 residents and 7 workers. This is this woman here with the back to us, Naama. She is the manager. She phoned and said, I cannot continue anymore. Most of the workers do not come. From 112 workers, only 18 get back. I'm alone. I cannot continue keeping the place. So I told her, okay. And we brought soldiers for 24 hours. And later we brought youngsters, students in preparatory army program, all of them 18 years old. They do 1 year preparation to military service. I did a Zoom conversation with them and their parents, and they arrived in less than 15 hours. They arrived to volunteer 2 weeks, and they were replaced by another preparatory for another 2 weeks. Chameshet Baot, 5 fingers, and then Tavor preparatory, and then another preparatory from the Negev. So I want to tell you, we have wonderful, wonderful youngsters volunteering with commitment and dedication to disabled people. In Alei Negev, we can give the highest life standard by the numbers of volunteers who empower the workers. On each worker, we have about 2 volunteers. So we prepare for the first preparatory, we prepare place to sleep, briefing, food, everything. And after the first 24 hours, that was shock for them. They got used, they didn't want to leave. In Alei Negev, we continue as usual, protected by our PPE. You see some of the volunteer, international volunteer, this women from Holland and Germany. We use a lot the cell systems and computers to speak with parents, because according to limitation, we cannot allow the parents to come, their families to come and visit right now due to the COVID-19 number of illness. We do test every week. That's the way we do the testing every week for all our workers. We continue developing Alei Negev village. Right now we build the first rehabilitation hospital. This is the status of the first rehabilitation hospital in the Negev. That the entrance will have 1 department for 36 patients, another and 3rd department, altogether 108 patients that would be treated, get the best rehabilitation service, physiotherapy and neurologic therapy here in Alei Negev. We'll have 3 institutes here and the research center. Alei Negev is leading a clinical field which defined something to and allow us to bring the best technology, the best knowledge from academy from the Weizmann Institute, from Ben Gurion, from John Hopkins University, right to the field, here to Alei Negev, and give the first rehabilitation service. The best artificial hands and legs to those who lost arms and legs in accidents, or simulation system for people after stroke. Here in the desert, by the way, here you see we build now neighborhood for students. Students from Ben Gurion University will stay here, do the practice here in this hospital. And here in the yellow ground here, we are going to build a community for 500 families. We need a lot of people. We need the doctors and nurses and psychologists and psychiatrists, caregiver, administrators, chefs, and so on. So we are going to build, we have another year of completing the design and the planning. And in 1 year, we'll start building here a community for 500 families, many of them doctors and nurses, medical team, but also our gardeners, the disabled gardeners, Alei Negev, and also some families who have a disabled child will be able to live here in integrative community for 500 families. This is the Alei Negev sketch right now. This is the hospital on the right side, the neighborhood for students who volunteers and workers here. And 23 is the place for the new community for 500 families. And the village stretch from here up to the south here, which we have a horse riding therapy center and safari center and amphitheater. We lead a program named Tikkun Olam together with Israel Ministry of Education. This year, 20,000 students, 1 year program to teach them what does it mean to accept those who are unable to maintain their life by their own. And Rabbi, I ask you also to send volunteers and maybe students having bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah in Melbourne, in southern Caulfield Shule, maybe those who are having bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah to adopt one child in Alei Negev, maintain conversation that they cannot speak, but the caregivers may assist us. We have many children in the United States. We have this model with Beit Jacob in San Francisco, with Solomon Schechter in New Jersey. Students, 13, 12 years old, Jewish students from the United States adopting children, disabled children. In Israel, in Alei Negev, Nachalat Iran, later they come to volunteer. When they arrive to 17 or 18 years old, they come to volunteer, not less than 1 month. So you may take this challenge. Vocational Creative Center, Alei Ofakim, we raise another banner. Integrating disabled people in jobs, in work. So we open a new creative center for 100 people. Those in the right picture, they do electronic chips for company named Flextronic. So this disabled, they work for a company like Flextronic or Intel. Intel is very well known in the world, 6 billion company in Israel, only in Israel, near Kiryat Gat. And in this creative center, we teach them to be chef, how to cook. We teach them how to do farming, agriculture. We teach them art, how to create, how to do painting, ceramic, things like that. And last, for all of us to always remember that the strength of the social chain is measured by its weakest link. The more we do to strengthen this link, we are better people and better community. Shana Tova and Gmar Chatima Tova, and thank all of you for coming and hearing me. I see right now the number is 80. We have few minutes for questions according to your request.
Thank you. It was, I mean, it just was so beautiful to hear your story and to listen to the way that your son Eran inspired you. And it wasn't just inspiring you to to feel good and but you literally changed the world and the lives of so many human beings. And I think as we lead into Rosh Hashanah, your message is so clear that every human being, and I love that last quote that you put on that, if we can look after the weakest chain, that makes us the strongest community that we can be. And I guess there's going to be, there's some people who possibly might not want to put questions on there. I have a few questions, if you don't mind, on behalf of some of those who've sent it to me privately. But you said that your son was your greatest teacher, or one of your greatest teachers. I think we've all understand why, but at what point did you realize how much he had taught you? Was it only after his passing? When did you sort of realize that was the message he had taught you?
Absolutely. My parents gave me very good education. They taught me what is sacrifice. They taught me to be mensch, loving human being, be good friend, be good citizen to our country. But one thing, they didn't educate me. Or on the opposite, they were friends of Yigal Allon and Golda Meir. And when we passed near Institute of Severely Disabled Children like my son, they continue. They said, okay, this is a place for retarded people. That's not for us. They are not part of our society. So, if Eran, my son, was not born, I would be totally different person. Totally different. I would be more or less like my parents. And my inner insight, while these children and people are not part of our society, they're unable to raise the GDP, to contribute to our economy, to our society, to our culture, to our military. Sorry, something happened, tragedy, okay, keep them in institute and forget. So this is a kind of discrimination. We can't agree. As Jews, we can't agree. We need to understand the fragility of life. We need to understand that each one of us can find himself at the same position as the children in Ale Negev. And I would say that we need all the time to raise two flags very high. One is this personal excellency, to maximize our capacity, but the other flag is a social excellency. We need to remember we are Jews, we're part of community, we are part of people. We need to ask what we do for our neighbors, for our family, for people who really need us every single minute. And it may happen every minute in our life. Something happened to mother or father or grandma or grandpa or neighbor. What we do? We continue blindly, we continue forward, go to work, and because our ego is the most important, bringing salary is the most important, or we stop our life, understand the fragility, understand what is social commitment, and try to assist. This is compassion. We say, Rabbi, as we say, Olam Chesed Yibaneh. What is the Olam Chesed Yibaneh? The world is built on compassion. What is the compassion? The compassion is something we need to understand, we need to internalize, and we need to take our own ego, put it aside, take our time, and give something from ourselves. It's not something which is necessary. If I leave stone, it must drop. The gravitation power works and it must fail. It must fail. It's imperative, but it's not imperative to take our time and volunteer. This is something which is chesed. This is the compassion. And by compassion, we may build a better world. This is the Olam Chesed Yibaneh.
Beautiful.
And that's it. That is something, that my son taught me.
And now
I
that
owe.
you've shared that with us tonight, and I once again thank you for teaching us and for sharing your story, and I think for being honest that that unfortunately there's still a lot of people who don't get it, and still a lot of people who are scared or who are uncomfortable, and so I think we've got to challenge our own perceptions, challenge our own thinking, and I think you've certainly helped us go a bit of a distance tonight. And if anyone can assist your great work, we've put a link on the chat, but we'll also send a beautiful email tomorrow to all our members to give them an opportunity to give, to do chesed, to give tzedakah tatzil mimavet, and unfortunately the whole world is going through a crisis right now, and hopefully with all of our kindness and our good deeds, and to see the amazing stories of your volunteers and workers, they can inspire us to just be nicer to others. And there are some beautiful I see, there's some of the youngsters that I know here and other people who said that, helping those who have those disabilities has often been the greatest parts and highlights of their lives. It's made them recognize life, and like you said, become your son is your greatest teacher. And when we have that chance to work in that area, it can make us better people as well. So thank you, and thank you everyone for joining us. And we want to wish you all a Shana Tova. I hope everything's good in Israel. We want to come and visit you soon, B'ezrat Hashem. I was supposed to be there. Well, I shouldn't say I was supposed to. Obviously, wasn't supposed to be there, but we had scheduled to be there twice this year. And B'ezrat Hashem, I can make that happen next year. And thank you very much to everyone for joining us. Tomorrow night, we've got one more event before Rosh Hashanah, or before Erev Rosh Hashanah. We have a Q&A with myself and Rebbe and Sarah. And then Erev Rosh Hashanah, a sing-along with Chazan Greg and myself, and some of our Kol Simcha members. But again, to you and your whole family, to your community, and to all of Israel, Shana Tova Metuka. And thank you everyone for watching. And as I said, we'll send out a link tomorrow and there is one on the chat. I'll post it one more time. Thank you to Ricky for organizing Doron tonight to inspire us. And as I said, hopefully we'll be able to meet you, B'ezrat Hashem, soon in person.
Thank all of you, and thanks again, Ricky, for contact me. And Ricky, you can spread my email to everyone in the community. You may be in touch with us and make a personal, individual.
I love the idea of the Bar Bat Mitzvah. I think it will be really beautiful to do that. We'll do that for our synagogue.
Thank you. We'll do it. It's easy. We'll do it. We need to keep connection. We are one people. You are from the other side of the globe, but we are one people.
Absolutely.
And in Rosh Hashanah, we are doing the same.
Oh, I think I muted you. Sorry, by mistake, I muted you, Doron, because I just wanted everyone to be able to unmute. There you go. Everyone can unmute yourselves as you want, as we will end the live stream. And you can, if you wanted to just say Shana Tova to Doron, you now can unmute yourselves.